Welcome back, everybody, to the Diary of the Landscaper. Today we have Dominic Vela, founder of Fantastic Fence. For the people who, for a guy, they got a truck and to a 10 million building service business scale. Dominic, take it back to the beginning. How did Fantastic Fence started?
Yeah, it started with me and a neighbor. My neighbor was doing, he was installing safety fence, like the mesh removable safety fence.
Okay.
In 2012, the economy was getting a little sideways there, and he wasn't very busy and with the safety fence. And so we had been talking about, well, why don't you install normal fencing? Everybody's got it. It's everywhere. And I just had hired or tried to hire some people to do a fence for me. It was not a very good customer service experience. And so I was like, you should get into it because you're a really personable guy. I'm sure it'll be good. And he said, well, I don't know. And I said, well, we can figure it out together. Let's do it. And he said, yes. And then hence we're here.
That's great.
Yeah.
When you were running as a two-man operation, what the day-to-day grid looks like?
Oh, chaos. I mean, chaos, right? You're trying to answer the phone to get new customers and take care of your current customers. You're trying to do the job. You're trying to collect payment. You're trying to write estimates. You're trying to do everything. And that didn't last very long. We were lucky that we were picking up steam pretty quick. And so we were able to hire like a real professional installation crew, guys that have been doing it for 20 years, and then reallocate ourselves back to doing not the actual installation, but doing the management and the sales aspect of the business. But that was within 6 months.
Oh, that was great, yeah. And I guess that's one of the reasons a lot of us take kind of small because we don't want to hire. It's not that we don't want to. Sometimes we're afraid to hire. We think that we don't do it. The person that we bring in is not going to do it right. But we can always change it.
Yeah. I think that is a very common concern, right? And it's a valid concern. It's a valid concern. But I heard this once and it makes a good sense. If they do it 80% as good as you, and there's 10 of them, they could do 100% more than you could. And so, unfortunately, we're all limited by how much. And so we continue to invest in training, invest in double checking what we expect. And honestly, most of the time, everybody does a better job than I would probably have done myself, to be honest with you. They're real professionals at what they do. And so usually we're always worried about what possibly could happen. And we forget about the upside to that, which is they could really do a much better job than I could have done myself.
Yeah, for sure. At the early stage, did you early think about building big companies or your company, or were you just trying to survive?
Great question. I think early on you're just worried about survival, right? And that's for everybody. But shortly thereafter, you start seeing it pick up steam, and then you see what other companies have done, and you go, I could do that. If they could do it, I could do it. And so
for sure.
Yeah. So I think that's a very common thing. Some folks just want to stay a smaller company. And that's great. It's to each his own. Really, I'm more interested in the leadership aspect of it than I think that inspires me, being able to create an ecosystem where dozens of guys and ladies can succeed here for their families and grow versus it just being me and, a small handful.
Yeah, that's a great answer. What was a moment where you realized the business could scale beyond a small crew?
Well, I think when it's a really good question. I don't think it happens in a moment. I think it happens where you start realizing you're too busy and you're not going to do things as well as you could you just yourself. And so you add a couple more guys, right? Or a couple more people. And then we got an office manager. She's still with us today. She runs all those crews now.
That's
and
good.
So she's really grown and developed with us. When we started, it was us in a 10 by 10 rented office, shared office space. And now she's in charge of all these crews. And so, it happens over time. And I think kind of you turn around and you blink and you go, man, how did we get here?
Yeah. So that takes the next question. What was the biggest challenge going from a small operation to multiple crews?
It's always it's a dichotomy of a challenge between having enough staff and having enough business. And no matter what, you feel like you don't have enough of one.
Yeah.
And so you wish it was always at this level playing field, right? And you wish that it was always, you have enough. For folks that are in landscaping, I know probably a lot of your listenership is in landscaping. Certain times of the year, there's not as much to cut, right? And pick up and leaves. And then you get to that part of the year that you're like, holy cow, there's a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really about how do I, hopefully you're able to work through those ebbs and flows because you have customers that are all year round and paying you all year round. So you can, staff accordingly, but it's challenging. That is no matter what in any type of home service or the trades probably in general, that's always a challenge.
Yeah, I start to approach that challenge a little different. Most of us wants to hire in the peak season, and that's the worst we can do because you ration everything. So I read this in a book. They start hiring on the slow season, meaning in the winter season, especially for our trade, right, landscaping.
Yeah.
That way you're gonna have more time to train the guys to be ready for the peak season, than hiring in the peak season and trying to train it to be laid off on the slow season. So I know that's a little controversial right there, but it works better that way.
Yeah. So it takes a lot of guts to hire in the slow season because even as the owner, you feel like, man, I'm responsible for these people and their family, right? I need to make sure they're working. But also you're going to get you have opportunity with a much better quality of staff member in the off season, right? When everybody's busy, the best other employees that are out there that you would like to have come onto your team from another company, from another team, they're busy. They're not really thinking about trading, you know what I mean? No. Switching teams. But when it's slower, now they start thinking, maybe I want to switch teams, right? They have a little bit more time also to absorb that idea. And so you probably, for your betterment, you probably are going to get a better quality, having the courage to do it in the slow time.
Yes. So what mistakes do you make early while growing?
Man, we made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we all do.
And we still do.
Yeah, it's a learning process.
Yeah, that is a really good question. I think with that, we didn't invest into the culture and into the teams as much years ago. It was really about production when we first started off. And it was really also, we did not have 20 years of experience in the trade. So my partner and I did not have as much opinion about things, the way that things were going to be done, right? In terms of the way that we functioned as a company logistically and the end product. We just kind of trusted early on that what they did was standard, normal. And so I think that we trusted in others instead of setting our own expectations, right? And saying, this is the bar. And either we're going to meet that or I'm going to work with you to get you to where you work at that bar, right? So I'll coach you along. I'll show you how to do it and I'll show you what we expect. And I think that if we showed people what we expected more early on, we probably would have had to fix less things that didn't meet our expectations or the customer's expectations. And I think that the business in general would have improved even faster and the quality of what we improved. Now just on Google, we have probably 1,500 reviews between our multiple locations and it's like 4.9 stars, right? So we're doing great. We never really had a massive problem, but even those stars, any of the little hiccups, I think we could have, if we had come in with our own opinions a little bit more strong early on, would have probably been helpful for us.
I think one of the reasons that happened to, I say most of us, if not maybe wrong, but all of that, all of us, business owners, entrepreneurs, is that not investing the time and the revenue that we're making when we started on those culture, that business culture, the environment, so that can grow more faster, and I would say professional and profitable by investing in our time. But since we all start just looking to bring cash in for the company, that's where we get a little bit lost.
Yeah, you're working on today and you're not putting that focus for the future, right?
Yeah.
So that's really where I see a lot of, I coach on the side. It's free through in a group called Entrepreneur Organization. They're all owners and founders of companies. And in Sacramento, California, where we are, there's a organization. It's an international organization all over the world, and they have what's called Accelerator, and it's companies under $1 million. And so I got talked into coaching, and it's honestly one of the best things I've ever done. I learned from all the smaller companies as much, I think, as they learned from myself. And one of the things that they get stuck in, and we did as well, was they're always worried about the problems of today, and they're not dedicating time to where we want to go. How are we getting there? Specifically, how are we getting? So if we want to add another truck, what does that mean we have to do to our marketing or our ad spend? If we want to add, whatever it is, $500,000 to our revenue, what do we need to do to get to 500,000 more? So they're never focused on that. They're just worried about the day to day. And that's really where that whole busy is not the same as profitable comes.
Yes.
You have to focus at the end of that, as, otherwise we're like, well, we worked really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not much fun.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And what is that coaching you're doing? Is that virtual? Is that physical, or both?
Yeah, it's so the coaching is we meet once a month, but then you build friendships with these folks, and so you end up helping them all month long and all year long, and they're in a variety of different trades, right? So everybody is from everything from an attorney to cosmetologist to junk removal to all different kinds of trades. But we all, amazingly, no matter what our industry is, it's the same problems. It's the same challenges that we have to overcome. So it's really great opportunity. It makes you also look at things in a much more guerrilla marketing-ish kind of, because you don't have giant budgets, and you have to figure it out again. And that's sometimes good, because sometimes the bigger businesses get lost in having budgets, and we get wasteful.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing.
They say the best way to learn is to teach something. So because you will learn for something. Yeah. So thanks.
You realize how much you forgot.
Yeah. You talk about how more leads didn't fix your business. What was actually broken?
Yeah, conversion. So I think a lot of times we're always worried about getting more leads. And that really, just in home service in general, has been a thing forever, right? I just need more leads. I just need more leads. But we really were not converting those leads, for whether they were selecting to go with a different company or they were just not getting the job done. We had not convinced that customer that they were comfortable enough to hire us. Right. So the reason that they were holding off usually comes down to really not that they didn't have the access to the funds, not that they liked somebody else better. A lot of times, more often than not, we lost not to a competitor, but we lost to the job did not get completed now. And that had to do with we did not show the customer enough value in what we were going to bring to their table right now for them to want to and make them comfortable enough with us. And so we've really had to rethink the way that we do sales, and we've really had to retrain ourselves. And that's been a huge, in the last 12 to 16 months, that's been a massive piece of what we have done to sharpen our sword is really rethink how we do sales, because it's really about making the customer comfortable and asking them the right questions. We used to spend a lot of time trying to prove that we knew and we were experts. Well, that really wasn't what the customer was looking for. They were looking for us to be an expert. They knew we were an expert. The reviews showed it. And, that's the reason they had us to their home. They wouldn't have had us to their home if they didn't think that. But we really needed to make sure that they understood, we understood them and what their expectations were and what was important to them. And so it really turned that whole conversation to being a lot more questions and a lot less of us talking and a lot more questions of the customer. so that we could cater our solutions to exactly what would make them happy.
Yeah, that's a very key, important, great answer. That most of that we just focus on show ourselves that we are the greatest company when it's more listen to the customer what they need, so you can answer those questions and the job is automatically yours.
Yeah. And in that conversation too, they will start, if you really truly love what you do, they will start to feel that you love what you do.
Yeah.
Right. And that you're really excited to do this job. Because there's a lot of times I would go out and we would talk about how they wanted to redo the fence and why they want to do it, or put a gate here, or they want to secure the pool so the kids didn't get in. And in the end, you kind of step back with them and you look at it and you go, this is going to look really good. I'm excited. Let's do this. And they can feel your energy and they're like, oh, that's my guy.
Yeah. So that's a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big difference. So the more you're excited about it because you truly love what you do, it really does start carrying across to the customer.
Why do so many contractors think marketing is the solution when the issue is the operation?
Say the question one more time, I'm sorry.
Why do so many contractors think marketing is the solution when the real issue is the operation?
Well, I mean, they kind of are slightly different. Your problem is going to show up in a different way, right? The marketing, they are separate, but they're also at the same time, right? If your operation's terrible, guess what? You're going to have terrible reviews. People are not going to hire you again, right? They're going to discontinue service with you immediately, right? And so you can market all you want, but you're still going to be losing those customers out the back end, right? So you get started with them and then they're like, no more, and they, so you're constantly just pouring water into this bucket that has giant holes in the bottom, right? So the operations really has to be tight. That way the bucket is sealed. And so as you pour more marketing in and more leads in, you're able to retain much more of those customers.
What system do you build that finally change things?
So KPIs, key performance indicators. I think that we all needed those. It's not just the business owners that need them. I think all of the staff needs them too. It really helps you understand if you're doing a good job, right? And also it helps you understand where you sit. So if you're not doing a phenomenal job, you're just doing kind of a good job, it also helps you understand what you need to do to get there. It also shows you what is possible. If you don't know, if I just told you to go for a hike and we said, we're just going to start hiking, and we just started hiking, you start thinking, when's the end of the hike? When do I get to the top? And did I do a good job, right? So really you kind of want to know, well, this hike is 5 miles and we are at mile 1, mile 2. It really helps people to understand what those key perform. And that might be the amount of dollars that your truck, how much service your truck did in a month. It might be the number of 5-star reviews you and your team got that month. It might be that, you completed all of your projects in under the allotted amount of time. And so, maybe there's a pay for performance kind of plan that you have. The KPIs can be pretty vast. For your office staff, the KPIs can be what percentage of the inbound opportunities leads did you turn into an appointment to go give an estimate? Maybe you're losing a bunch because you're not returning phone calls quickly, or you're missing the phone, or you're not responding to emails quickly, etc. So it's not just for the crews, but it's also for the internal staff. If you have managers, they can have their own KPIs based on the production of the crews. And you can work in bonus structures based on those KPIs.
You mentioned that you stopped putting fires and that final scale. What does that transaction looks like?
Yeah. Eventually you have to accept the fact. Eventually you get to the point where you're big enough that you have to accept the fact that you can't do it all yourself. And gosh darn it, you feel like you're going to do a better job than everybody else. I could have done it better myself. But if you're constantly the one that is putting out the fires, you're also never giving your team an opportunity to figure out how to solve those problems themselves, right? So you are almost stunting the growth of your company. You really are stunting the growth of your company, because those folks they also learn to always come back to you for everything. You have to be the one to solve everything, right? And it's almost like sometimes some of them, they'll stop thinking. because they just going to go back to you and get the answers. And so the more that I said, listen, I want to help you, but I can't help you. I need you tell me what you think you should do. And they go, well, I think we should do this. Great, let's do it. And then they learned, okay. And sometimes they would say, I think we should do this. And I'd be like, well, what if this happens instead? And then they go, oh, yeah, that might be a problem. Well, what do you think we should do now? And then now they have another idea. And you're like, oh, there's a good one. Let's go with that. That's a great idea you had. And so what it shows these folks is that all of your team, it helps them rise up with you, because otherwise you might climb that mountain and you might get to the top and you look around and you're by yourself.
Yeah.
You left all your team back there. So you need them to rise up with you. As you continue to grow, you need them to rise up with you.
For sure, yeah, that's a big one right there. Most of us, especially when we're starting, we think that we can handle everything, but in reality, we're just making our way into the hamster wheel that we're just gonna be trapped in there and just cycling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you mentioned before, 80% will be 800%. The way I see it, 80% from that is 100% good for us as an owner.
Yeah. And for your family, the big part that I think a lot of us forget early on is about our family. And running a business impacts our family. And,
yes.
And if we have kids and a spouse and the time and the energy, even just the energy, you might come home, but gosh darn, you spent all your energy earlier in the day, and the kids want your energy and everybody wants your energy. So sometimes it's also about really empowering other people to take on some of that workload and take some of that off of us, is also not only for our business, but also for our family in the end, because otherwise we show up and our tank is empty. Yeah. There's nothing left, right? And that is not good for the people that we are working so hard for, is our family. And then we show up and we don't really show up, so something to think about.
At what point do you think the owner becomes the biggest bottleneck?
Yeah, usually way before we think it happened. So way before we thought, right? So usually we are so good at being firefighters. Man, we usually, entrepreneurs across the board, are so good at putting out problems and taking care of solutions and being decisive. And you do that, and you do that, and we're going to take care of this. And I'm going to run over here, and I'm going to make 3 phone calls at the same time. We're so good at it in general. The problem is that, once again, we're holding back our team and we're not utilizing the assets that we have appropriately. And also, the whole thing is if you're looking right in front of you, just right in front of you, you don't see what's about to happen, right? You can't drive the car just staring at your gauges. You have to look up. And usually we are so stuck looking at today and our gauges that we don't look up. And that also takes away from you as the owner, because you as the owner need to look up. You need to be in other peer groups. You need to be listening to shows like this, because it then shows you what is the possibility. And as you get to meet other owners, even in other industries, and you get to listen to shows like this and learn and grow, then it refuels your tank. And you start going, you know what? We can do this. We should help more customers, because we are the best at what we do, and we should help more customers. And I'm going to get a bigger team put together and get them trained up so that we can help those customers, right? And so it helps you grow and refill your personal tank as the leader.
How do you move from technical to leader in service business?
Well, technically, it was easy for me because I didn't have a lot of technical skill. I built a fence for my mom when I think I was 13, because we were broke. Luckily, my business partner had all the technical skill. So it did not take me very long to say, I need to get out of the technical, right? I need to get into, and it's just a different technical. Now, people like myself is worried about SEO and LLMs and marketing plans, and how do we garner new customers and take care of our current customers and make them feel special, right? How do we not lose some of our current customers to a different company that we don't even realize they're kind of falling out the back, but we don't realize because somebody else is courting them, wanting their services, their business as well. So it just, the technical changes from the actual digging a hole and building a fence to a technical that is now much more about, how do I grow this team? How do I put together training programs? How do I put together KPI programs? How do I encourage the personal development of the leadership of this team, right? Mm-hmm. They need to continue to also personally grow to help pull ahead the other folks. So just a different technical.
Many contractors are busy all the time, but still struggle financially. What do you think that happens?
I think a lot of times early on, we give a price on projects just based on we want to win the project. We are a little extra hungry, right?
Yeah.
And we think, okay, if I can get it done, and sometimes we know that early on we're doing it ourselves. So we're like, okay, if I spend 2 hours doing it, or I spend 3/4 of a day instead of a third of a day, it's just on me. It's just my time. It's just a couple hours, but I won the job. I'm going to bring home some money. But we cap out too early, right? And so by the end of the year, you only have a certain number of hours, and you find out the dollars aren't there, right? I think we also don't take into account the expenses that a business incurs. So while we say I'm going to charge $250 an hour for my services, and it sounds like you're going to make a lot of money. You became a doctor, right? But you found out that lead cost to generate the lead on a Google PPC account was $125 to generate the lead. 80% of them book. Now you're at about $175. And then you go out there, run the bid, and you only win a third of them. Now that 175 times 3, you're at $450 to win that job. Your ad spend was $50 to win that job, right? And we forget about those things. So at the end, we can't understand why there's no money left, well, because there's been a lot of holes in the bucket, and we just have to take into account those holes so that we're charging appropriately. But we don't do that early on. None of us do. I don't think. So
that's the big mistake we all experience at the beginning, because we just think, oh, if I just put my name out there and I do it myself, little by little, yeah. But you said the perfect example, the bucket has so many holes that everything we just put water in it, but he won't keep it.
Then the truck breaks down, it's $2,000. You need some piece of equipment breaks, you got to fix that. And we forget about those things, and then we constantly get in this struggle, and then we get very scared to just charge a little bit more for our time that rightly so, we should charge for. And I think even in the last year, especially, that has been in the last 12 months, that has really been 2025 has really been a year of that I've seen across most trades, is that we've all been very weird. We came off COVID, things were high, people were spending money, and now they've tightened up, and now we're really afraid of that. Now, while everything has gotten more expensive, all of your owners that are listeners, their expenses have gotten more. When their families go to the grocery store, it costs a lot more. And they're at work trying to win customers, afraid to charge more. Matter of fact, probably charging less, right? And so now your expenses at home went up, you're charging less, and you really, really feel it, right? I can tell you, in our industry, we are kind of on the upper end. We're not the very top price, but we're pretty darn close. And we are the guy that's servicing. I mean, I probably run the same number of jobs as the next maybe 5 companies after us all together. And these are like the next 5 biggest companies. And so, we run thousands of jobs a year, and we still price way up here. And what you find out is that in every trade, the really big companies, the companies doing $150 million, $250 million, $500 million a year in heating and air, electrical, plumbing, all these different trades, all of these companies are priced way up here.
Yeah.
So we always think that we got to be cheaper and we'll win. Truly, what the customer wants is a great experience. They don't want a 50-cent taco that makes them sick. They want a $1.50 taco that they enjoy, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the key of success. What metrics should service business actually track to stay profitable?
Okay. So you want to track stuff on the way in, right? You want to track your number of leads and the lead conversion. So how many of those are you turning into estimates, right? You want to track what your revenue is, and you want to track at the end of each month, track what your net profit is. right? And you can track, those are probably the biggest ones that I would say on a very easy, if you're just stepping into tracking KPIs, that's probably the easiest, right? Make sure you have stuff coming in, you have flow coming in, right? You can get much deeper into customer retention but really just watching, how much flow is coming in of leads, what percentage are you booking, what number of dollars does that account for, how much work are you doing every month, and what's the net of that, right? Because you don't want to get to the end of the year and find out, we weren't charging enough. So you really got to pay attention to that net every month as well.
What financials or operation indicators help you know your company is healthy?
What financial, what was the beginning part of that?
What financials or operation indicators help you know your company was healthy?
Yeah. Well, I think initially we did it the same way as everybody did. Is there still money in the bank account? And then we're like, I guess we're okay.
That's the key metric. Yeah.
So, and it really depends on your trade, right? You might not have large amounts of inventory, right? Like I carry millions of dollars of inventory. So that can really fluctuate what my numbers look like, right? If I don't take into account my inventory. A lot of trades don't have that. And that makes it a lot simpler, right?
Yeah.
But really what I was always looking for is the more you start tracking right now, you might not know how you feel about those numbers right now. But as you track month over month over month, you will start seeing a trend. And then now you have this year's numbers. So next year, you can look at those numbers again. I can reassure you by the time you get to next year at this same month, if you had this month's numbers, you can hold them up together and you will know if you're going up or if you're going down, right? And so you can, because things are a little cyclical sometimes, and you can watch those trends. And really, but the trend is you got to start tracking not only what your revenue is, but track your net as well, right?
Yeah.
And I would track, it depends. You might be in an industry where you do a lot of month over month repeat customers, landscaping, right? You're doing maintenance. So that in that industry, you might be tracking new customers coming in, but gosh darn it, you better be making sure you make sure how many are you losing on the back end, right? Because you're like, we got 10 more customers. You don't realize you lost 12, right? So in that regard, if you were doing landscape like improvement, like you were going in, tearing out the yard, redoing it all, you might be looking at like what is the overall number of projects you brought on and what is the dollar value of those projects in total. So because those ones you're not losing them on the back end, right? So it really has to do with knowing the health of your company, really has to do with tracking these month over month and watching for trends so that you know this is normal for February or this is not normal for February.
You talk about one and done customers being the losing game. Why?
Yeah. Well, a lot of times we make decisions poorly. We make the decision to just be like, well, I just got to get through this project and be done, right?
Yeah.
And the best customers are the ones where they tell somebody else, right? Especially as lead cost continues to escalate. The average cost of a click or a lead on any of the, anything from Google, LSA, PPC, Angie's List, Yelp, we've all done all of them, right? That is just skyrocketing year over year since 2022. It has been nothing but an uphill climb. And really, one of our company's big initiatives this year is to bring it all the way back to 1985, go back to relationships, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't the internet. There was a little bit of yellow pages. Right? There's no yellow pages anymore. So we're really going back to relationships and how do we get our current customers through like tools like Refer Pro, and how do we get them to refer us new customers? And as we started reaching out to our prior customers and doing community events and community calendars, and like we have a community calendar that we run, and it's just all different kinds of events in the community. And we share that on all the different Facebook and Instagram, and every week we update it with new events in the community. And it's got our branding on there. It's sponsored by Fantastic Fence. But really what it is in the end is it's offering value to customers that they can see our branding, but we're not just telling them, here's another fence, here's another fence, here's another gate, here's another gate. They don't want to see the gate. but they do want to know things to take their kids to this weekend. Mom, Dad, what are we doing this weekend? Honey, what are we doing this weekend? Right? So we have this really cool event calendar. It's event.callfantasticevents.com, and it's really cool event calendar. We share that to the community, and that's how we are trying to make sure that we are a staple in the community rather than just being kind of a one and done situation.
So this question is related to that. What system helped you turn those customers into repeat or referral?
Yeah. Well, we all know doing a great job is going to be a huge piece of that, right? Doing a great job is going to be a huge piece of that. But after that, it's really about follow-up. When I was telling you about, we reached out to our prior customers. There's thousands every year, and we got 15 years of customers. And we reached out to them. I was blown away at the number of people that said, "Oh yeah, we have another project for you."
Okay.
I never even thought to reach out to our prior customers, right? And we were asking them if they wanted to refer somebody, we would give them, we'd give them a bonus for referring somebody a different project that they might know that we should just meet. And 95% of them referred themselves and said, actually, I have another project for you. So don't forget about your current customers. You don't forget about your past customers, the neighbors of your customers, and the people that have seen you out there. A large part of it too is, the landscaping folks, those customers love you guys. Ask your customers, would you mind if I, for a couple of weeks, put a yard sign out here? And so the neighbors can see the great job that you do, and maybe you pick up a neighbor in the process. Anyway, hopefully that's helpful for you.
Thank you. How can contractors create long-term customer relationship instead of contract lead chasing?
Yeah.
Back to the topic.
Yeah. So some of your customers are going to be homeowners, and that's really about finding ways to not be marketing to them, but still marketing to them, right? Still showing up in the community. And sometimes that means showing up at community events, and it's a branding move. You're not going to really generate leads, but you're going to do something to do with branding, right? And the other ones are commercial customers, and that might mean stopping at their office with bagels and donuts, right? And a sign and some pamphlets about what you do, and hey, I'm just here to be a resource for you in the future. I would love to get on your vendor list, right? You would be boggled how many customers I've picked up with a box of donuts. It's mind-blowing, to be honest with you. It honestly disarms them right at the door. They usually are like, yeah, you can't talk to anybody, You can drop off whatever you want. You can give us your paper. And you're like, I have these donuts. Do you mind if I set them in the break room with these flyers? And they're like, sure, come on. So we go and put them in the break room, right? So, so a large part of it is we don't then just forget about those folks. We make sure that we stop back again and again and again, and we try to make it back there once a month. And now it gets more and more challenging. The busier you are, the more of those people that there are, right? And we do have to be a little selective about who we're stopping at, and is it a bigger organization? We're going to stop there more. But really, it's about don't forget about them. Just because they're a good customer doesn't mean you should forget about them, right? If they're important to you, don't forget about them.
Very, very key answer, right? Thank you. Looking back, what do you overcomplicated in the beginning?
I think that I thought that I wanted to make things really custom for folks, right? I wanted to give people so many options because I thought that giving them more options would honestly be helpful for them. And what I actually found out in the end was it made it too complex for them. There was too many options, and people got lost in not knowing if they were making the right decision. And really, it was like giving people 3 options, right? The best, better, good option was really important. It gave them an opportunity to see and feel comfortable with the decision they were making, but it also didn't give them so many that they got lost and thought, I need to research this more, right? Which then stalled the entire project, right? And we used to, back in the day, do good, better, best, right? Show them the less expensive, then the middle, then the most expensive, right? Because you know that 20% by the bottom, 20% by the top, and 60% by the middle. But really, truly, in this last year, in a coaching group that I was in, they had demonstrated, they're like, you should start with the best, then go to the better, then go to the good. Why? Because you'd be shocked how many people, when you get done telling them what the best one is, they go, let's do it. And then you stop talking. They get the paperwork together for them. So we used to go the wrong way. And I think that people really should go from best, better to good.
What belief about business do you have to learn to grow?
Be a learner. Learners are leaders. And I think that a lot of times we forget that the world continues to change. We don't know everything. We do feel like that sometimes because everybody around you comes to you for the answer, right? Yeah. And so a lot of times we get stuck in the fact of not accepting that we too need to grow, right? Otherwise we become that the entire business can never move past, right? Mm-hmm. And so I have 3 boys, they're teenage boys, and I'm like, learners are leaders. You just need to learn. The more you become a learner and you are naturally curious about stuff, the more you're naturally curious about stuff, the more that you will continue to develop and grow, and it will show that you're excited about it. It'll show to people that you are truly like, I'm stoked about this. This is cool. And it will get them excited as well. So the best thing I can say is learn, continue to learn about anything, but just continue to learn.
What system or habit made the biggest difference once you crossed the $1 million mark?
Yeah. Well, the learning is because it continues to change, right? You're not going to get past the million. Really, a piece that I always tell folks that are under $1 million is it really comes down to the marketing. We really focus on the operations. We forget about the marketing, that you really do need to understand marketing far better than you usually think that you need to understand. I've hired over the years, companies that charged me whatever, $4,000 a month to manage our SEO, or $2,500 for the PPC, and social media management was $1,500. There's another, $4,000, and they really weren't producing. But I didn't know that. I didn't understand it. I didn't dive into understanding what I was spending all this money on. And really, this is the thing that is going to bring the opportunities to your business, right? And you can make the most perfect job, but if you don't have opportunities and at-bats, you need these opportunities. So really, I would say, as much as you want to say, I don't understand this, the world of YouTube is massive. Get on YouTube. Home service. How do I learn about, the basics of Google pay-per-click or Google LSA, or how do I score better in Yelp? And you will find people that resonate to you, that you like to listen to, that seem to make sense. And you will start learning more and more and more. And then when you hire people, when you get to that point, when you hire people to help you with it, you will know how to grade them as well, right? Yeah, you will be able to make sure that you're giving your full dollar. Otherwise, you'll be like me, spending $50,000 a year on a consultant who the net of it was terrible.
Yeah. I guess we all have that experience as well. I myself too. I thought in some point in my life that paying, like you say, $3,000, $6,000 to a marketer, and I'm paying to do better SEO or whatever, they will solve the issue. But no, because many of the money just go to waste because especially because there is no tracking, no follow-ups, nothing. But you believe they're doing it, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they're just draining your money or your bank account, and you're not getting out of it. So that a key point that you touched is just go to YouTube, learn at least the basics so you understand. So now you have a conversation with people there because they're all promised they can put you in the first page of Google.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And really, you will find if you're a smaller company and you go to some of the companies that really you look at it and you go, man, I know that company is. Get to know the owner.
Yeah.
Become friends with them. I'm friends with every single fence and gate company in the area. And I try to help them. And some of those guys call me and they're like, Dominic, what do I do about this? And I was like, well, this is what I would do. Right. Or, hey, I have an issue with supply. I can't get this. Where do you buy it? I buy it from here or here. right? Call Susan, here's her number, right? I'll help them out because I know that I'm improving the whole ecosystem for all of us, right? And along the way, those companies, especially if you're under $1 million, they're not worried about you. I mean, most of them will help you anyway. And one of my best friends is one of my best competitors. And we know that either the customer is going to hire him or they're going to hire us. And that's really the way it will go, right? Yeah. And one day when we sell our businesses, we'll probably sell them together. By both these companies, you own the whole area, right? And but it really comes down to, in the end, is we have to continue to educate ourselves and don't feel stupid that we don't know something, because it's not something that we understand. So it's okay. Just little by little, you'll start to understand more and more and more, and you'll feel more comfortable with these things.
Today, your coaching business scaling past 1 million revenue. What patterns do you see over and over?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. It was the focusing on the operations to the point that we forget to have time to focus on the marketing, right? We think that sometimes everybody knows what we do. And we do. Our circle of people that refer us and whatnot, they're this big, right? Mm-hmm. And they know what we do, but they forget about what we do. Right? They're busy too. Yeah. They got their own life. So really our job in the end is to make sure that every single person, we are as loud. I read a thing that said, winners are not the best, they're the loudest. And it's true. Usually they are so good at getting the word out, right? We've all bought a product that wasn't the absolute best product, but we saw the marketing all over the place. Yeah. That's why we bought it. Right. And so, winners are not the best. They're the loudest. And that is very true. We have to be very loud about our business and let everybody know what we do. And that's how we're going to pick up more business. I think up to 1 million, and even in that bracket, we don't have a big enough team to hand all that off. So we are kind of struggling with the day-to-day and the marketing. And then that's my big push to you is, try to have other people manage that day-to-day so that you can focus on that marketing. There's two things that you should never lose focus on. That is your marketing and your money. If you don't understand your finances and you don't understand your marketing, you're in trouble, right? Yeah. Those are the two things. The other people can really manage the day-to-day more than you think they can, right? But that will allow you time to really excel in these other two areas.
What biggest thing keeps serving business stuck under 1 million?
That like we're saying, they worry about the day-to-day, right? A lot of time too, when we're early on, we don't want to reinvest as much into our business, right? Or we've reinvested money that we could have put in our pocket and we spent it on ad spend, or we spent it on whatever it was. We did a home show event and we didn't really get any leads out of it. And the net out of that was basically zero, right? Maybe we got 10 leads and nothing converted to a job. And so we're like, forget it. Home shows don't work, right? And then we hear about somebody who does home shows. They're doing great at home shows, right? Or we don't want to do yard signs. They don't work. Then somebody else is like, I get tons of business from yard signs, or Yelp, or Angie's, or Home Advisor, Thumbtack, Google, and all these other lead aggregators, right? There's always somebody that has figured out the process. If you know who those people are, you hear about them on shows, reach out to them. Yeah. Ask them for advice. You'd be blown away what people will tell you, right? And they will help you. Because honestly, like I know I can give all my competitors 99% of my secrets, probably 100. Less than 1% of them will actually do it. And for the 1% that do, good for them. Yeah. So you're always fine helping people out because you're very curious. Like, let's see if he helps himself out. So you know what? Hopefully it works for him. Maybe just I got lucky. So, yeah.
Thank you. One system every contractor needs.
What's that?
One system that every contractor needs.
One system. I mean, I think the fact is that early on, we're worried about just getting the jobs done, right? And we're like, okay, we got to get all these houses taken care of today, or by Friday, we have to take care of all this. And we're just worried about that. And we never actually put in place a system where the staff can also win. Really having some kind of KPI structure, key performance indicator structure, where if you meet and are beating goals and measurable, doable goals, not goals that are so crazy that nobody's going to win, right? But doable goals, then what you'll find is that everybody's winning together, right? And maybe that's hey, listen, I got 110 hours built into these projects this week. And if we beat that, we're going to split the difference of whatever it is, right? The difference of those hours, we'll split them, or something along that lines, right? Or if we are able to get all these things done, and, we will have a party, or there'll be, I got gift cards for people or whatever it is that your folks want. And sometimes that's literally, they just want lunch. They just want a nice meal brought to them, and time to have an early Friday or something like that. Hey, if we get it done by Friday at noon, I'll bonus you guys the extra hours, and you guys, we can get out of here early on Friday. You know what I mean? That might be it too. So whatever it is that your team is, motivated by, but it's really about having a measurable goals that gives your team something to also shoot for, right? Something that they can also win.
One mistake you see service business repeat?
The service businesses repeat. I think that a large time we do things the way that we have done them before, just because that's all we know, right? We don't. There's a lot of learning that can happen. Like I'm in a coaching group. It's home service companies all across this country, and it's amazing. There's people that are landscapers in there, heating there, electrical, plumbing, roofing, cleaners, window cleaners, like every trade that you could possibly imagine of people that work in a person's home, solar, it is represented in there. And we learn from each other. And I learned so much from the landscapers and the roofers and the electrical. And so, like, what we forget to do is continue to educate ourselves and join these groups, right? Join these groups on Facebook and, Instagram. And there's a lot of landscape groups, and you will learn stuff just by reading what other people are doing or trying, or that's a new tool, or I've never seen that before, or how did they do that? How do they do that job more efficiently? And we live in a world where you can reach out to those people now so easy and ask them a question. Hey, where did you get that? Hey, what is your experience with driving posts, not setting them in concrete? How do you feel about that? What tool do you use? Do you have any videos you could send me so I can see how it goes? And they'll do it. People tend to help a lot.
For sure, yeah. One leadership habit that change your life?
I think that the biggest leadership habit is understanding that as much as this is your life, this is your entire team's life too, right? So a lot of times we are worried about, I'm like, okay, I gotta make sure the company continues to run, and I'm going to do everything about this company and this company and this company and this company. And we forget that this company is still these people, right? And so we have to remember that we need to keep them informed. When things are going well, let them know. When things are not going well, let them know, right? This is their life too. This is their family's life. And the more honest we are always with them about how things are going and what the direction is that we want to go. And hey, this is going to be difficult, but we're all going to try to do this. And we have what's called a top 5. And so as a leader, as the owner of a business, if I told you, what are you going to get done? What do you need to do to make your business better? You could list me 100 things that you want to do. So you create what's called the top 30. Okay. And so the top 30 are the top 30 things. You put them on paper. You got to write them down. Okay. And so but you put them on paper, what you're doing is you are releasing them off your shoulders. You're putting them on a piece of paper that you're going to track. And you take 5 at a time, just 5. And those 5 get allocated to you and your team. And so you're not now focused on the top 30. You don't have to forget about the top 30 because the top 30 is there written down. They're not going to get forgotten. Okay. But you're going to focus on 5 because if you try to focus on 30, none of them get done.
Yeah.
So you just got to get the top 5 to 80% and you go one by one. And if you get to 80% done, you move it off your list onto kind of a done and monitoring category. And then you can move something back into your top 5. And that has been revolutionary for our team. We've gotten stuff knocked out that we've been talking about doing for years. We never did. Also, while doing those things, stress came way down.
Yeah.
So otherwise, you feel like, yeah, you have all these things to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it almost feels unmanageable for you as the business owner or the general managers.
If a landscaper is listening right now, or it will listen, not right now because we're not live, but if a landscaper is listening and they want to scale their business, what would be the first step you should recommend to do?
Well, I would figure out what things, I bet by now you have, there's a couple things, obviously we talked about, right? Learning, go start learning something, right? If you don't have yard signs out there, yard signs. If you're in landscape and you don't have yard signs out, a nice yard sign that stands out, man, those are, talk about the best bang for your buck. Our return on investment on those is astronomical. That is one of the key things. We put our yard signs out and we have projects that we know that once the project is done, a lot of times the customer on our yard signs, they're going to throw them out, right?
Yep.
And that's fine. Totally understand. So what we did, I learned this from another company, a roofer, is we put our yard signs out 2 weeks in advance. So 2 weeks before the project starts, right? So if you're a landscaper and you're doing like remodel work, not just the weekly stuff, you can have the sign made and there's a banner across it that says coming soon. So when we go to mark for underground utility, we put the sign out, right? Now, I tell you what, I pretty much never have had a customer take that thing out. So that thing sits there for 2 weeks because they don't want to be rude and remove it prior to the job getting done. So that thing is going to sit for sure for 2 weeks, right? Out in the community. And it says coming soon, a new fantastic fence, and that has been one of the best ROIs, right? That's out there. And people understand when the sign's out there, they understand why it's out there because it says coming soon. And if it says coming soon after, doesn't matter. Nobody cares. Your branding's still there. So
yeah, it's a small thing, big change. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
For all thanks for your time. I got all the questions answered. Great answers, and great to have you here. But for the people who want to get a hold of you or reach to you, any social media channels or anything?
Yep. My name is Dominic Vela. It's a Vella, and I have a LinkedIn account. Might be able to put it in the show notes or something.
Sure.
There's a LinkedIn account, and then also, our website is called fantasticfence.com. Try to put that in the show notes as well, and email to that as well. Always feel free. If I can be of any help to you at all, reach out.
And the coaching, the monthly thing, you say it's a free service that you do?
No, it's not free. It's built into Entrepreneur Organization.
Oh, no,
but but really, honestly, there is a ton. If you look on, I'm 49, so I'm a Facebook guy. I don't do Instagram as much, but there's a lot more learning, I think, in these groups. But if you get into any of the Facebook groups and you search kind of what you do, whatever trade that is, might be landscape, might be something else, right? And you find some of the groups, professional groups, you'll learn a lot from those groups, and I'd recommend you give it a shot and just check it out a little bit. You might be impressed.
Thank you. Yeah. So I believe I got your links. If not, send it over. I'll put it on the description on the video. It was a pleasure having you. I learned a lot from you. This is the podcast designed for that. To everybody learns to become a better business owner, entrepreneur. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Okay.